Welcome to News Desk with me, Mamisi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up, Ghana's Tehran evacuation plan in full swing as it ramps up citizen protection in the Israel-Iran conflict. Meanwhile, Israeli Ambassador Rory Gilad has justified their attack on Iran, indicating Israel won't hold back.
I think the main criticism you have among the Israeli people is that maybe we needed to do it before, not to wait so much.
Meanwhile, finance and energy ministers meet today to find practical solutions to the emerging economic challenges from the conflict as COMAC predicts hikes in fuel prices in the next pricing window.
Second part of the second window in June, things might change because of the war.
Also, public service delivery sector grind to a halt as Civil and Local Government Staff Association CLOSAC directs all births and deaths registry staff nationwide to stay home. We'll take you live to Parliament for the vetting of the Supreme Court nominees as well. Ghana's evacuation of its citizens from Iran is in full motion as President Mahama intensifies efforts to shield Ghanaians caught in the escalating Israel-Iran conflict. With no reported casualties or injuries so far, the government has swiftly activated a multi-pronged response, successfully identified over 900 Ghanaians currently residing in Israel, including some students across 6 universities. Foreign Affairs Minister Okudzeto Ablakwa gave updates on the current situation on his X page, and head of Foreign Affairs Desk, Blessed Soga, joins me with more in studio. Blessed, and so you've been following this particular development with the Foreign Affairs Minister. What more are you picking up from his page?
The clear indication from the minister is that Ghana has successfully identified the number of Ghanaians living in Israel. That number is coming to the total of about 922 Ghanaians, clearly from the statement that we're seeing from the Foreign Ministry and the minister on his X page. 922 Ghanaians, out of which 65 are students studying in about 6 different universities in Israel. There are concerns over the last few hours as to whether or not Ghana has an evacuation plan for these individuals, because clearly if you're looking at the numbers, that's quite significant as opposed to what we're looking at in Tehran. The minister announced yesterday, which we brought to our viewers, that Ghana was already, through the instruction of the president, running a cross-border evacuation plan in Tehran, obviously because of the casualties being on the rise. We're not too clear as to what the numbers are, but if anything, we are to go by anything, the confirmation then coming through from some members of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, specifically Patrick Boama, who has then since addressed the press, appears to give us a sense that there might be closely some 50 plus individuals who are in Tehran now, who are declining government's helping hand to say we want to cross over in spite of what's been happening. And that's why many were asking, okay, if you're doing that for the Iranians, the Ghanaians in Iran, what then are you doing for our citizens in Israel as well? So the minister has been seeking to provide some updates on his X page, where he's giving clear indications that so far 922, as I was indicating, 65 who are now students there studying in about 6 different universities. But the question as to why an evacuation is not happening in Israel, he seems to explain that for now there is sort of a state of emergency in Israel, which is effectively closing all borders and making it, basically impossible for an evacuation plan to happen as of now. There is subsequently an agreed emergency plan, which is being agreed on between the Israeli authorities and the minister, and the expectation is that once that is activated, then of course the country can move its interest out of the country.
Thank you so much, Blessed, for that update. Well, we'll be taking you to the Accra International Conference Center, very shortly, where Ghana Automobile Summit is underway, but as and when it's ready, we'll go there and give you the live updates. Well, moving on this story, the Israeli ambassador to Ghana, Rory Gilad, in a blunt justification for the strike, insisted that the world must understand the danger posed by the Iran regime that wants to erase Israel.
Whenever your enemy declares clearly about his will and wish to get rid of you, to annihilate you, to destroy you, to erase you from the face of the earth, as the Iranian leaders are doing since February 1979. That's the year of the Iranian Shiite revolution. And at the same time, they are having the ability or trying to develop the ability to do what they wish. This is when we become worried. We have many enemies that would like to erase us from the face of the earth, but do not have the ability. We have states that have the ability, but do not want to erase us from the face of the earth. But when we have an enemy that have both, this is when we become worried.
So this is the nuclear threat that has been said by Netanyahu.
It's two things. It's the nuclear threat. We believe that the Iranians have reached uranium to a level of 60%, which is enough for 9 nuclear bombs. Mm-hmm. And they are developing, as you can see now, and as you showed before, between 2,000 and 3,000 ballistic missiles, of which they've launched already like 200 against Israel, causing significant damage. That has to be said. I think the main criticism you have among the Israeli people is that maybe we needed to do it before, not to wait so much. So I think Israel now, there is a very wide consensus among, for your viewers who do not know Israelis, Israel is a very opinionated people. And it's very hard to find consensus among Israeli people. There is a consensus now that this was the right thing to do. The only discussion is, had we had to do it before they had the 2,000 missiles that cause now significant damage in Israel.
Well, on the other hand, global oil markets are jittery. Brent crude surged by $10 per barrel to peak at $78 on Friday before easing to $72. With Ghana's economy heavily dependent on imports, fears of rising fuel costs and inflation loom large. President John Mahama has directed ministers of finance and energy to find innovative ways to ease the challenges.
The work we have done in stabilizing the economy, Ghana is not immune from the shocks of global events. Recent events in the Middle East, which involve an exchange of missiles between Israel and Iran, have started to escalate crude oil prices dramatically. I've asked our Minister of Finance and Minister of Energy to keep a close eye on the development and model the possible impacts on our petroleum prices and prepare measures to protect the recent gains that we have made.
Already, government has suspended the planned 1 cedi levy on each litre of petrol and diesel. Although fuel prices dropped this week, CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Riverson Upon, warns that the impact of the conflict will be felt in the next pricing window.
But that's not at all in any way capture that movement. And this is the same reason why I say that when fuel prices are going up, we don't see the effect immediately in our pump prices in this country. For this very week, we're going to have a very cool price because we're going to sell old stocks that has been bought at a price, or probably people who have locked in products and paid for it. So we should not expect the hike effect on the pump price this week. But most likely, the second part of the second window in June, things might change because of the war.
Well, a former Power Minister, Kwabena Donkor, believes government is capable of finding solutions to the challenges. He spoke earlier on the AM show.
The Ghanaian state is losing huge revenues on MGO, marine gas, oil, domestic. The gap between that and regular gas oil in terms of price is over 2 cedis a litre. The differential, and we know that that differential is largely abused. So the state can close that gap and make it an other revenue. Then the same applies to premixed fuel. The state is subsidizing to the tune of 4 cedis, 11 pesos a litre. So should prices go further on the world market, the Ghanaian state will have to look at internal rearrangement in order not to affect the fiscal even if it means reducing some of the levies to temporary pushing Ghanaians. This has happened in the past. It's happened under various regimes, especially at the Mahama one. It's happened that any time prices go way out of a certain range, there are internal mechanisms to cushion the consumer to some extent. But I am confident in the resilience of the Ghanaian economy, particularly on the performance of the CD, because that is a major impactor on fuel prices at the pump level.
Away from energy issues, public service delivery set to grind to a halt as Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOSAC directs all births and deaths registry staff nationwide to stay home today. The strike, triggered by what the union describes as a toxic and lawless work environment under Acting Registrar Samuel Adomboche, threatens to paralyze vital registration services. In a strongly worded letter to the Labour Minister and other state institutions, CLOSAC accuses Mr. Botre of flouting procedures, disrespecting staff and making unauthorized postings despite previous petitions and a suspended strike in February. Now, let's go to that particular statement. And it says that the National Executive Council of CLOSAC, at an emergency meeting held on the 28th of March this year, decided to suspend the strike action by the staff of the Civil Service and Local Government Service, and said that the action was to allow the parties to continue engagements towards the closure of the impasse. Now, in that regard, CLOSAC entreated staff of the Civil Service and the Local Government Service to resume work on 2nd April 2025. Well, joining me now is Public Relations Officer of CLOSAC, Edmond Akwe, to, give us more insight into their action today. So, Edmond, you describe your boss of a toxic work environment. Particularly, what is he doing?
Thank you very much, and greetings to all your listeners, more especially CLOSAC members and CLOSAC within the press and death registry. Well, Mr. Samuel Adomboche, the acting registrar for press and death position, is a civil service position. So in the first place, when he was appointed to that position, we protested and went on strike to that effect. We were called back to the negotiation table to come and look at issues in there to see how best we can resolve. So we suspended our strike. Being on the negotiation table and we, being law-abiding citizens, we have been going according to what is supposed to be done. Just for us to get the information, just allow us to get the information that Mr. Samuel Adomboche is intimidating workers of the press and death registry. He calls himself the lion. Mm-hmm. He's passing verbal abuses to the association, saying that CLOSAC is foolish. He said, yes, when he was campaigning for government, where was CLOSAC? Statements. These are statements that are abusive statements to our members and CLOSAC.
Well, if you talk about intimidation, Mr. Edmond, can you give me a minute here? Intimidation in what format? I mean, in which?
I have just stated some of the things that he's doing, calling himself a lion. Who can work with a lion in the office?
So is he exhibiting lion traits? In what regard?
He going to the office premises with macho men to intimidate our members. Is that the right work environment that we want? As an association, let's protect the welfare and safety of our members. We cannot guarantee the safety of our members within the press and death registry with this act of the acting registrar. In the first place, that is wrongful. In the second place, you don't even have the qualification to be there as a registrar. In the third, you are there intimidating our members, not allowing safety work conditions to go on. The best thing we can do as an association is to tell our members to stay at home. For that matter, the National Executive Council of CLOSAC held an emergency meeting and came out with this particular decision, informing all members within the birth and death registry across the country from today henceforth they should stay at home until the registrar is put in order and his position is reversed, his appointment is reversed.
Well, Edmund, in February you suspended the strike. On which assurances did you suspend the strike?
We suspended the strike because the appointing committee, the Minister for Employment, asked that we should suspend and come to the negotiation table so that we'll see how best to resolve. Only for this man to be at the office to start doing all these abusive, things to our members. We have had several complaints from his outfit that this is what he's doing at the office. And we cannot work with such a person. So our members are supposed to stay at home until that man is removed from the office.
What would you say to people who think that this is also a strategy to get the man out of office, especially when in February you staged the same action, insisting that the man not be, appointed to that office?
We are law-abiding citizens. As a union, we go according to law and order. So when we were called to the table we should suspend our strike, we did. We expect that he, being the acting registrar, should act the right way, not to go and intimidate our members. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, raising our voices again in this manner for us to, call back this. So, he is not acting rightfully in his position.
All right.
So we are pleading to the point. We are pleading to the president. We've written letters all over to the head of service, to the head of services. We've written letters to employment. We've written letters to the Jubilee House to ensure that this man is removed from the office. We cannot allow an institution like Birth and Death that has built its reputation over the years for one person to come and destroy it. We will not allow, we will not sit down as a union to let this go on.
Well, so these acts of intimidation, have they been reported to maybe say the National Labour Council?
Well, these agitations are not going in the line of Labour Council. This agitation is employer-employee, agitation, and we are dealing with the employer directly.
So,
the appointment of that particular person is not in the right procedure. What the Birth and Death Act says is that the president shall, in accordance with Article 95 of the Constitution, appoint the registrar. Now, let's go to the Article 95. What does it say? Subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the power to appoint persons to hold or to act in an office in the public services shall be vested in the president. We accept that. Yet, acting in accordance with the advice of the Governing Council of the services, ask yourself whether the Governing Council at the time of its appointment was even there. It wasn't there.
But Edmund, you admit
the president. Let me finish. The president acted without the advice of the Governing Council in the first place.
Yet still.
Secondly, he says that when this Governing Council's advice is taken, it must be given in consultation with the Public Service Commission. This was also not done.
So even so,
that
Edmund,
is why we are saying that his appointment is wrongful. Now, qualification towards that particular appointment. It says that a person who is appointed to be the registrar should have civil registration knowledge. This academic qualification should be in line with civil registration, demographics. The person should have those qualifications. Ask yourself whether someone Adumbotri has it. He has one of these certificates.
Edmund, okay.
Yes, there are civil servants in the service. There are civil servants in the service who are right to take those positions because they have those qualifications.
Edmund, your point has been made, but you also agree that the final authority lies with the president to make his decision.
In accordance, please. With advice and in accordance, those particular
the president has made his decision.
Because
now,
that is what the Constitution is saying. That's why I quoted the Constitution. 195.
I understand what you said.
It is in the president, but there are conditions. And the condition is that it has be done with the advice of the Governing Council. The second one is that it should be in consultation with the Public Service Commission. This was not done, my sister. You should know right from the
outset that
Edmund, breach of procedure has been done.
So Edmond, even if it was done, and the president will still have come to this decision of instituting, appointing, right. So you still stand by your position.
Not a politician.
Edmond, let's be civil here. I think you want us to have a decent conversation.
Edmond should be a civil servant and not a politician, and that is where the bottom line is.
Edmond, I believe you want us to have a decent conversation here.
Don't.
Great. So if you'd listen to me and then.
What it is, and we are putting out our point. We are telling our members that the working environment is not safe because the lion, being Samuel Adumbote, is in the house there. We cannot work with him, and that is our point.
Thank you very much, Edmond Akweis, the Public Relations Officer of CLOSAC, giving us updates on this strike there. Well, moving on, wife of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has disclosed that her husband will face the office of the Special Prosecutor when the time is appropriate. Professor Angela Ofori-Atta spoke for the first time after his surgery in the U.S. Mr. Ofori-Atta has been officially listed on Interpol's Red Notice again amidst ongoing corruption investigations and efforts to bring the former minister to justice. Now, speaking to Joy News, Professor Angela said her husband will not shy away from accountability.
To Shraj, talked about his work. This is not a Ken who runs away from accountability.
Nico!
I ask the public to remember when they've heard him speak, he has not shied away from facing up to issues. It's amazing that we've had to deal with cancer in the last year. This is the process by which we have hopefully ensured that it doesn't spread.
However, she disagrees with claims that growing public attention is purely about accountability, suggesting there may be other motives at play.
Leave you with the understanding that Ghana is home, and when their time is right, he can come.
Does he accept, though, that this is simply the OSP trying to do his job to hold him accountable?
No, I don't agree with you on that, because the man has been held accountable even during the time he was in government. He went on a censure. He has never not been accountable when asked.
Professor Angela Ofori-Atta also provided an update on the health of Ken Ofori-Atta.
He's doing very well, thank you. He's a real trooper. He's just sort of going through the steps of recovery, which the doctors expected. And we know that we have to make sure that his wounds don't get infected. Those are just sort of the things that one has to go through when one has surgery. The sample taken, it was clear that there was cancer in the prostate. And then the surgery was scheduled for June 13th.
Meanwhile, the Director of Strategy, Research and Communication at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Sami Darko, has challenged claims about Ken Ofori-Atta's medical condition, insisting the former finance minister failed to provide any certified report justifying his absence from law enforcement proceedings. And according to Mr. Sami Darko, he says on his social media page, you may choose to distort facts or shift the goalposts, but the truth remains, as of today, Mr. Ofori-Atta has not produced any certified medical report or flight risk assessment from his personal attending physician or hospital indicating that he is incapacitated or unable to travel. He was given the opportunity to appear before law enforcement between February and June 2nd, but failed or refused to do so. Notably, he did not undergo any surgery on 21st or 22nd of March, and despite a statement from his medical coordinator, widely circulated online suggesting otherwise. Furthermore, has Mr. Ofori-Atta not traveled in and out of the UK and USA between March and 31st May 2025. He's questioning, and if he's able to fly internationally, what prevented him from appearing before law enforcement? So these are questions being posed by Samedako at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. You're still watching News Desk here on the Joy News channel. We'll take a break. We'll return shortly with more.